You're watching the number one podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, and I'm your host, Jean Paul Leck, and this is Rope Breaks Family Tuesday morning. Here we are, and you know exactly what that means. Monday Night Raw review, and we've been saying it for the longest time, man. The past couple of weeks, especially all these releases, all this craziness going on. I wouldn't even know if I would call this autopilot, but they are just in cruise control. They don't care about this show. They don't care about the booking. And that's been evident to what we've been seeing the past couple of weeks. I mean, yeah, tonight we saw the big return of Randy Orton. That was kind of like the main story of this whole episode. And it made it a little better, but overall, just pretty much the same thing we've been seeing the past couple of weeks, just really, really awful wrestling. Nobody's into it. You can tell. I mean, the fans are excited to see it in person, but eventually that's going to die down once they start making their rounds. You go to the same city, same area again. People aren't going to be excited because, okay, we saw wrestling. It's not good. So now we're not going to pop for it anymore. But, besides all that, I want to thank you guys for all the support on the videos, Dynamite, NXT, NXT UK, SmackDown, all that stuff. Guys, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. Give us the thumbs up, the comments. We love it. So let's start here with Monday Night Raw. And like I said, Randy Orton, he pretty much opened the show. He came out, he was hyping up the fans. Okay, we see like almost like a babyface Randy Orton. He's getting excited to be there in front of crowds. And, he comes to the ring, and then Matt Riddle comes out. Matt Riddle's excited to see him. Oh, Randy, how's it been, man? Where you been hiding, all this stuff. And, pretty much Randy Orton is like, why do you think I'd want to come back and team with you? So then they start going at it. Then AJ Styles comes out and, he pretty much said, oh, Riddle's an idiot. He didn't learn when Omos and him were beating him up. And, then they're pretty much going to do the same to Randy. And then Randy fires back at AJ saying the only thing bigger than your ego is this jackass. And he's like, hey, Omos isn't a jackass. So they keep going back and forth and everything. Randy Orton attempts an RKO on Omos or an AJ. AJ rolls out of the ring. He attempts one to Omos. Omos shoves him. Then, Riddle tries to do one to Omos as well, but Omos catches him, slams him. And then Randy's like, yeah, that wasn't real smart now, was it, kid? So that was pretty much the first segment. And, like I said, it wasn't bad. Randy obviously adds some legitimacy. So does AJ Styles. Riddle's not bad. Omos is, he does his role all right. But you just knew that it was going to be AJ versus Randy in the main event, and you knew Randy was going to go over. He's coming back. So, you know what I mean? It's like, how really can you get excited about this? And it's also, WrestleMania rematch. Yeah, we've seen that now. How many times? It's been 2 years since that WrestleMania. So, they've done this match plenty of times. So it's not really like a WrestleMania rematch that I get excited for, but, it wasn't a bad opening segment. So then we see Baron Corbin. He's backstage, and he said he's here to challenge Drew McIntyre. He's like, the Raw fans might not know he lost everything. He goes through the whole thing, how he lost everything he has, living out of his car and everything, or just pretty much are in the Performance Center, I think he said. Then Jinder Mahal called him, and, he's like, oh, I really don't want to get in the ring with some guy's going to chop my head off, but I need the money. And Jinder Mahal said he was going to pay me. So that match is next. And then we see Drew McIntyre. He cuts a promo backstage, which he calls Baron Corbin pathetic, says he has no sympathy for him. Same thing, Drew. And then Corbin says, he said Corbin is a terrible person who once heard him brag about beating a homeless man. So he pretty much just puts Corbin down. Like, why should we feel bad for this guy when, you didn't feel bad for anybody when you were on the top? So he talks about his sword, his claymore named Angela, which is named after his mother and everything. So then we see that match, Drew McIntyre versus Baron Corbin. And of course, Drew just beats the shit out of Corbin. I don't know what you expected from this. Corbin just pretty much, like I said, he just beats the hell out of him, belly to belly, all this stuff. Drew goes to the corner. He wants the Claymore. Corbin's like, pretty much begging him to stop. Don't do it. So McIntyre, he grabs a microphone. He calls him really pathetic. He says he's starting to feel bad for him. And he's like, how much money do you need? Corbin's like, just $100,000. He's like, 100,000? Are you kidding me? He's like, how about I give you 1,000 or 100,000? No, how about 200,000? How about three? And he's doing the 1, 2, 3, like the countdown. Boom, he hits the Claymore kick, 1, 2, 3. So then Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky, they come out after the match, but McIntyre lifts Angela, points it at them, and they retreat. McIntyre offers them his back, but they don't take the bait. Drew shouts that Ginger's ass belongs to him. So, like I said, I mean, hopefully they wrap this feud up soon, do something with Drew McIntyre. I was kind of interested and excited to see how this feud would play out with Ginger. Not so much anymore. It's not very good. Just ended. Then we see Jeff Hardy versus Karrion Kross. And, it was like, where's this going to go? Because we've seen this go, one of two ways. I guess Jeff's clear. He's good now. It doesn't seem like he was, had COVID for 2 weeks and that it ran its course, but I guess he's back and he's cleared now. So who knows? And, this was all right. Went through a commercial break. They looked good. Obviously, it wasn't dominant NXT Karrion Kross, but, Jeff Hardy looked good. Karrion looked all right. But at the end of this thing, Hardy wants to twist the fate, but he gets shoved off. Kross grabs Jeff from the middle rope, hits a Saito suplex, and then he snatches him in the Kross jacket, and Hardy taps. So then we see the winner, Karrion Kross, and some good stuff there. But the main thing here that made it like better for me was after the match, Karrion Kross, he pretty much comes back in, hits another Saito, throws Jeff around, and then kind of has that evil smile on his face. So it's like, okay, now this looks like Karrion Kross of NXT. But Jeff Hardy, thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming back from COVID so quickly. And then we see a replay of Eva Marie and Doudrop attacking. Oh, I'm sorry, Piper Niven attacking Alexa Bliss last week, and Bliss makes her entrance, and she gets a pretty decent reaction. And then when we come back from commercial break, Riddle is backstage. He's all upset about RK Bro. Is it truly over? Riddle says that today has been an emotional roller coaster. He's so excited to see his bro, but Orton wants nothing to do with him. He has respect, and he wishes to leave him alone, but the Stallion's got to ride. So then we see Alexa Bliss versus Piper Niven. Of course, Niven has Eva Marie out there with her. And this was just bad. Lily's in there. And I'm just going to skip to the end because it was a match that it should never happen. If it did happen, it should have lasted 2 minutes. But of course, Alexa Bliss wins this thing. Piper Niven pretty much gets distracted by Lily. So Bliss rolls her up. 1, 2, 3. Thanks for coming, Piper Niven. Started out great, dominant, beating everybody. Now look at her, loser. So then we see John Morrison and The Miz. They're backstage talking about how much they hate Damien Priest. Sheamus comes in, he's pretty much all pissed off too. And he's talking about Morrison, and they get in each other's face. Sheamus says that he has bigger problems tonight and he needs to crush that rat Ricochet. So then he's going to drown Morrison. So you see, maybe Morrison's going to be in the U.S. title picture, something like that too, hopefully. But if the title is going to go from Sheamus to Damien Priest, hopefully not, because we've seen enough Morrison and Damien Priest for a while now anyway. At least as long as Morrison is a heel with The Miz, I've seen enough of that. So Sheamus versus Ricochet, this was really good. These guys have chemistry because Ricochet he works so well with these big guys like that. He sells for them. He puts them over, makes them look good. And Sheamus is a great wrestler. I think a lot of people have really come to respect him these last couple of years, especially, with the spinal stenosis or whatever it is he has, to come through, fight through all this stuff and to still be performing at a high level. You really got to respect him for that. It's not his fault that WWE doesn't know how to book champions, and his U.S. title reign has been pretty much all but forgettable. But at the end of this thing, Sheamus fights back. He runs at Ricochet, gets drop kicked into the buckles, hurts his nose again. Ricochet jumps off the middle rope, but he gets caught with a headbutt. Sheamus then utilizes the metal mask, and he lands a bro kick for the win. So Sheamus wins. Good stuff there. What should have happened. And then after the match, we see Damien Priest. He comes down the ramp, gets in Sheamus' face. They argue for a moment, and Sheamus backs off and leaves. He tries to attack Priest from behind, and he gets thrown over the ropes. So then we see Damien Priest versus John Morrison with The Miz. Again, same thing we've seen all the time and time again. At the end of this thing, pretty much Priest smiles at The Miz, hits the reckoning for the 1, 2, 3. So then Priest goes out to The Miz afterwards and takes the dripsticks and sprays Morrison 3 times. Then he turns to his attention to The Miz, and Priest pulls his tie, and then Miz shoves him before standing up. The crowd pops because they see, Miz stood up. So now we know he isn't actually in a wheelchair. He can stand. So then Priest moves and Miz sprints to the back. Then he gets a microphone and says that for months, Sheamus has run his mouth. So he pretty much calls out Sheamus, says he's a bully, and he wants him at SummerSlam for the U.S. Championship. Sheamus says he is a bully and he likes it. He doesn't care what Priest or the fans think, but he'll be happy to put Priest in his place at SummerSlam. So Morris tries to sneak attack Priest, but he gets caught with a bro kick from Priest. So, maybe a little bit of shot there at Sheamus. So I'm looking forward to this match. We need a new U.S. champion in Damien Priest. Then after that, we see a little backstage segment. Mansoor, he got a jacket for Ali. Oh, sorry, I lost last week. I'm bullshit. Here's a jacket. They match. Let's be legit. Go out there and beat TBar tonight. And guess what happened in Ali versus TBar? He didn't win. And that's good because you need to get this bigger team over. And, got to move them on to the tag champions because if anybody's going to beat AJ and Omos, it's going to be them. They actually are believable. They make sense. Whether they're going to do that, I don't know, because to me, the RK Bros would have been the perfect team to beat them because it's two, top quality superstars. But who knows really what they're doing in the tag team division? I don't think they know what they're doing. But anyway, back to this match. Pretty good. Ali's great. Dijakovic's great. Feast your eyes. 1, 2, 3. The winner, TBar. So after the match, Mace joins TBar. They look for the double choke slam. Ali, but Mansoor hits a drop kick off the top and he fights them off and manages to clear the ring. So we see Reginald, he's having a photo shoot backstage. He gets attacked by Tozawa, R-Truth. They get pissed. He escapes. They're mad. Next segment. Then we see AJ Styles and almost their interview backstage. AJ says he doesn't care that Orton is back or his team with Riddle. And he cares that Randy can take time off and that he just waltzes back in on the top, and that pissed him off. And he made a colossal mistake, and they're going to take him down a peg. So then the almighty WWE champion Bobby Lashley and MVP, they come to the ring. MVP says last week the almighty was blessed the universe with a blockbuster main event for SummerSlam. However, there are some false narratives being spun. Goldberg didn't raise his hands to Lashley because he was scared. That speared him for no reason. He's a coward. MVP denies threatening Goldberg's son. All he did was tell Gage to dissuade his father from getting in the ring with Lashley. MVP says Goldberg shouldn't bring his son to the arena if he's scared of him getting involved. All this stuff going on. And then Lashley will end Goldberg's career. The upside is that Gage will have his father all the time at the baseball games. They can sit on the couch together and all this stuff, really just trying to cut a promo saying he's going to end Goldberg's career. He's going to have time to spend with his kid, all this stuff, if he really cares about his kid that much. And we see a replay, then Lashley says Goldberg isn't next at SummerSlam. He's done. And you know what, Lashley? I hope you're right. Then we see a replay of the no holds barred match between Charlotte and Nikki Ash last week, in which Nikki won. Rhea Ripley's backstage and stopped for an interview, and she's asked about facing Nikki, and she says she has to give it to her. She handled herself well against Charlotte. Being almost a superhero is great, but it's not enough to beat her. So then if we come back from commercial break, we see Nikki. She's interviewed backstage, and she says that it's her dream of being a women's champion came true, and tonight her dream may become a nightmare, but it's okay because she will have her spirit. She knew Charlotte and Rhea would be dangerous, but last week she beat Charlotte, and almost positive she will beat Rhea tonight. The odds are stacked against her, but she'll do what she can to remain women's champ. So we see Rhea Ripley versus Nikki Ash, and this was pretty good. It didn't really get going because of, how the match ended and everything. But, Nikki, she countered the Riptides. Okay, she can counter the Riptide. So, that's going to be maybe a spot or something we see at SummerSlam. But this was pretty good. Like I said here at the end, Ripley takes Nikki to the top rope, but she gets knocked off suddenly. Then Charlotte appears, shoves Nikki off the rope, starts beating everybody up. So then obviously, the winner by DQ is Nikki because she was the one who got shoved first. So it looks like she was almost helping Rhea. And then Charlotte, she comes to the ring, boots Rhea, Nikki, all of them, hits Rhea with a natural selection and then lifts the title up. So, good to hype it up, I guess, because we didn't want to see any of them really get pinned. I don't know why you're doing all these singles matches to begin with, especially with Charlotte. You buried her, or she won, then she lost, and we have this match, nobody won. Just do promos, video packages to get us excited. Have Nikki Ash beat up jobbers, have Charlotte beat up jobbers, have Rhea beat up jobbers. That's how you kind of forward this feud a little bit. But then we see a video package of Elias standing outside a fire. We hear fans chanting "Walk with Elias." He takes his guitar, stares at it, gives it one last strum, throws it into the fire, and he said WWE stood for "Walk with Elias," but Elias is dead. So we're going to see a new gimmick change, new character, something for Elias. So then we see Charlotte. She's backstage, asked about her actions, and she says as she watched the two of them tear each other apart, she saw an opportunity. She doesn't have to be pinned to lose at SummerSlam, and she doesn't want to have any outs. Last week, she got beat, shown a little vulnerability, and somehow that has erased all of her achievements. People keep wishing for her downfall, and she's going to walk out of SummerSlam as the Raw Women's Champ. Good promo by Charlotte. Then Randy Orton is interviewed, and he reiterates that he works better alone. He doesn't need Riddle, and tonight he will prove that when he beats AJ Styles. So here we are, main event, Randy Orton versus AJ Styles with Omos. And this match, of course, was good. You know, these guys have wrestled at WrestleMania before. They're top quality, top superstars. You know, they know what they're doing. They're not going to do anything embarrassing. They're not going to, you know, make fools of themselves or anything. And this was good. You know, AJ, he goes to the apron, wants phenomenal form. Randy counters him with the draping DDT. You know, he goes for the RKO, almost drags AJ out of the way. So you see, that's kind of how Omos was getting involved. He wasn't physically getting involved as in like grabbing Orton or attacking him or anything like that. Pretty much just like saving AJ when he could. Orton argues with Omos and Styles kicks him. Suddenly, Riddle comes running down and shoves Omos into the ring post and then gets on the back and chokes him. Omos backs Riddle into the ring post. Meanwhile, AJ hits a springboard, but Orton catches him with an RKO for the win. So after the match, Riddle gets in the ring. He begs Orton for forgiveness while explaining his actions. Riddle wants a hug, but Orton walks off. Riddle makes him come back and tells him, listen to the fans. Orton hugs Riddle and the fans explode. They pose for the fans until Orton hits an RKO. Randy laughs and sits behind Riddle. Byron Saxton says that they're still back together as the show ends. But who really knows? Are they done? Was that kind of a little bit like, yeah, you can't trust a Viper, you know, and, you know, he's pretty much going to be singles? Or was that just like a, hey, it's tough love, kid, you know, but we're still together? You know, I really don't know. It's tough to say. I hope they're still together. But, you know, maybe with Randy Orton off, you know, I don't think they need another heel, though, because you have Lashley as a heel champion. You would think you would want to build baby faces up. So who really knows? But that was Monday Night Raw. So, guys, you know, let me know what you think. Do you want to see the Arcade Bros stay together? Do you want to see them split up? You know, just are your comments on the whole show, not even just the main event. But guys, thank you so much for watching. And before you go, make sure you follow us on all of our social media. Rope Break on Facebook, OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok. And, of course, right here on YouTube, the home of the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you tonight with NXT.